Welcome to the 931st Air Refueling Wing Change of Command Ceremony. My name is Master Sergeant Ryan McPartlin. Today we pay special tribute to Colonel Phil Heseltine as he relinquishes command of the 931st Air Refueling Wing. And we welcome Colonel Cynthia Welch as she assumes command. This ceremony provides an opportunity to witness a time-honored military tradition dating back to antiquity. From ancient times, armies throughout the world have conducted ceremonies to commemorate victory over the enemy, to honor comrades in arms, and to celebrate special occasions such as the change of command. In the Middle Ages, it was not uncommon for soldiers in the field to be unaware of who their commanders were. The formal change of command afforded the troops an opportunity to witness the proceedings and actually see their commanders. Today, the primary purpose of the change of command is to allow subordinates to witness the formal transfer of total responsibility, authority, and accountability from one officer to another. These ceremonies have added color and pageantry to military life while preserving tradition and stimulating esprit de corps. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and the playing of ruffles and flourishes, presentations of the colors, the singing of our national anthem, and the invocation.
Present the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for the blessings of this day, for our strength and calling, and for the men and women of the 931st Air Refueling Wing. Thank you, Lord, for entrusting us with the opportunities and responsibilities that accompany your blessing, and enabling us to walk the path before us with boldness and fortitude. We thank you for the years of leadership of Colonel Phil Hesseltine. We thank you for the years of sacrifice his family endured so that he could serve our wing. We ask for blessing and favor on he and his family this next season. And we ask your further blessing, O Lord, that you would be with the new commander of the 931st Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Cynthia Welch, and the airmen that she leads, that you would give an extra measure of wisdom and creativity in facing the challenges that lie ahead and accomplishing the mission tomorrow holds. We pray that the outstanding history of the 931st may be reflected in tomorrow's actions, that the benchmark of excellence will reside here, that we will all bring honor to our country, our fellow servicemen members, and your call to serve. These things I ask in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Thank you, Chaplain Schmidt, McConnell Honor Guard Team, and Airman Close Hazard. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the official party. The presiding officer and commander, 4th Air Force, Brigadier General Scott Durham. The commander, 931st Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Phil Hesseltine. The commander, designate, 931st Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Cynthia Welch. The 931st Air Refueling Wing is honored to welcome a number of special guests today to today's ceremony. Colonel Hesseltine's wife, Mrs. Jenny Hesseltine, their daughters Alexa and Livy, and his father, Colonel Bruce Hesseltine, United States Air Force, retired. Colonel Welch's husband, Chief Petty Officer Phil Welch, United States Coast Guard, retired. Her parents, Colonel Thomas Teal, United States Air Force, retired, and Linda, join us today via Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us today. We would also like to welcome several distinguished visitors to our ceremony today. Please hold your applause until everyone has been introduced. On behalf of the Senator Jerry Moran, the Deputy State Director, the Honorable Mike Zamersla, the Mayor of Derby, the Honorable Mr. Randy White and his wife Pam, the Mayor of Andover, the Honorable Mr. Ronnie Price and his wife Sherry, the Mayor of Hayesville, the Honorable Mr. Russ Kessler, the Mayor of Bel Air, the Honorable Mr. Jim Benage, the Sedgwick County Commissioners, the Honorable Colonel David Dennis, United States Air Force retired, and the Honorable Mr. Pete Metzner, 931st Air Refueling Wing Honorary Commander Mr. Ron Ryan and his wife Renee, the President, Wichita State University, Dr. Richard Muma, the President and CEO of Textron Aviation, Mr. Ronald Draper. We would also like to welcome our distinguished military guests in attendance today. The Adjutant General of Kansas, Brigadier General Michael Vernerde. The Assistant Adjutant General of Colorado, Brigadier General Micah Fessler. The Vice Commander, 931st Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Jen Fitch. The Commander, 184th Wing, Colonel Steve Smart. The Vice Commander, 184th Wing, Colonel Joe Dessenberger. The Command Chief, 184th Wing Chief Master Sergeant Chase Liphart. The Commander, 22nd Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Nate Vogel and his wife Kim. The Vice Commander, 22nd Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Jake Thornburg and his wife Tracy. The Command Chief, 22nd Air Refueling Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Laura Hoover. The Commander, 931st Operations Group, Colonel Eric Rivero and his partner Angie. The Commander, 931st Maintenance Group, Colonel Robert Thompson. The Commander, 931st Mission Support Group, Colonel Matt Bassler. The Commander, 22nd Operations Group, Colonel Josh Zaker and his wife Stacy. The Commander, 22nd Maintenance Group, Colonel Grant Meadows. The Commander, 22nd Mission Support Group, Colonel Heath Fry. The Vice Commander, 507th Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Matt Gormley. The Commander, 514th Aerospace Medicine Squadron, Colonel Mei-Ling Taylor. The Commander, Derby High School ROTC, Colonel Mike Dillard. The Commander, DLA Aviation, Colonel Robert McGee. Commander, 415th Sustainment Command, Annette Bradenberg Bethany. Commander, Joseph Jacobs, United States Navy Reserve, Wichita. Command Chief Amber Spoon, United States Navy Reserve, Wichita. Major General David Weischer, United States Air Force retired, and his wife Mary. Major General Pete Fessler, United States Air Force retired. Brigadier General Rufus Forrest, United States Air Force retired. We also welcome all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, Golden Eagles, honorary commanders, friends of McConnell, and the men and women of the 931st. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the Commander of 4th Air Force, Brigadier General Scott Durham.
Woo! That was quite the list of DVs. Hey, and let's give a round of applause to the singer of the national anthem. Man, that was awesome. Senior Airman Close Hazard, that was a great job. I really enjoyed it. You may have just earned yourself the designated national anthem singer for the rest of my change of command ceremony tonight. Wow, what a community. You know, every successful wing that I go to has this kind of community support and this kind of total force support. So it's great seeing all of you here today. Thank you for coming out. Thank you to be here to mark this event, both for Phil and his family. I think it's a great testament to the quality of an individual that Phil is and all the lives that he's touched over the many years that he's been in service. To the 931st staff, to our national anthem singer, and our chaplain, Chaplain Schmidt, thank you for supporting and putting on the ceremony today and by adding your personal touch. I know this is a total force effort to make this happen. To 22nd Air Wing Commander, Colonel Vogel, it's good seeing you again. Thank you for having us out, and Colonel Thornburg, and Chief Hoover, who I understand was also an air traffic controller. Is that correct? Yeah. A lot of air traffic controllers in the house today. I started out in ATC myself, and I think we're just better people. To the distinguished members of the McConnell Air Force Base community, you're part of the Air Force family and leaders of this base and total force community. We welcome you here today. Your support and presence reminds us of the vital importance of the joint effort which enables for the 4th Air Force mission of rapid global mobility. This capability would not be possible without the operational resources and strategic depth that the 931st provides, along with 22nd Air Refueling Wing. So thank you again. Colonel Heseltine, thank you for the incredible achievements you've accomplished since taking command here. Introducing the KC-46 to McConnell back in 2019 while partnering with the 22nd Air Force Wing has been a game changer for the Air Force Reserve and Air Mobility Command. You and the outstanding team of Reserve Citizen Airmen here at McConnell set the KC-46 Enterprise standard in every category, going from 0 aircraft on station to 24, and led the 931st cultural conversion from 1 flying squadron to 3. Not to mention standing up a mission support group, which is no small feat, along with the successful mobilization of both your security forces and civil engineering squadrons during the Wing's last deployment cycle. Colonel Heseltine, special guest today who are joining us, he's known for the past 30 years from their time at AFROTC at the University of Utah. That's pretty special. I went to a pretty tight-knit group of cadets at the Citadel back in Charleston when I finished, and I can tell you that I don't have that many friends from that time period. So I think that's a unique and special relationship that you guys are able to build. Those include Brigadier General Mike Fessler and his wife Mila, Major General Pete Fessler and his wife Janine, and Colonel Retired Jody Perkins and her husband Matt. And finally, a special shout out to his best friend and inspiration, Mike Hawkins, who we're glad to see you here today. Mike battled and beat cancer during the COVID pandemic. And so whenever Mike gets down, he just says the word good and moves on. He actually has it tattooed on his arm, I understand. And that's a great example for all of us to learn from. And that's to don't dwell in the past. Learn from what happens in your past, call it good, and then move on. Press on to the next challenge. Speaking of challenges, Phil's family has been a tremendous support to him, especially his wife, Jenny. They met while at the Tinker Air Force Base Officers Club, I understand. And it seems that Phil was creating his own reality and then was later emulated by Tom Cruise in Top Gun. Because if you remember in the first movie, Tom Cruise initially got in trouble for dating the group commander's daughter. And so I think that Phil actually married the group commander's daughter. So his career worked out a little bit better for him than Tom's. If you remember in the second movie, that was actually his love interest that he got involved with in the second movie. She came back around. So Phil made a good choice, and Jenny's been with him for the entire pull since then. So good on you. And thank you, Jenny, for providing that family support. Jenny knows public service well, having worked for the Pando Initiative at Derby High School, a program which targets at-risk students. And she'll no doubt be a good sounding board for Phil, as I hear he has political aspirations here for the community, maybe in his next life. Together, the Hesseltines have raised two talented daughters, Alexa, 20, and Livy, 18. Alexa is currently a student at Kansas State University and is a member of the Student Alumni Association. And she will be traveling to Italy this summer to study abroad. Man, that's awesome. You excited about going to Italy? Yeah, I would be too. Never got to do any of that. Never even got stationed overseas after 33 years, which my wife reminds me often. Livy graduated from high school this year and works at Latchkey Child Services and is already a certified nurse's assistant. And she's also a passion for and takes care of anything with 4 legs. And that doesn't include spiders. They have like 8 legs. We're happy to also have Colonel Esstein's father, Bruce, with us today. Bruce retired from the Air Force after 29 years of service as an air traffic control officer, and then later as his hospital administrator, another air traffic controller. I'm failing my air traffic control roots because usually you can read and write and talk at the same time. I blame it on COVID, I guess. Bruce is also active in the local community here, being a master of Derby, Kansas welcoming committee, and is also an accomplished trumpet player and performs in the local orchestra. So again, the artistic piece shows up in the family often, I think. Phil's brother Ryan is also here with his family today. Ryan is a recently retired Master Sergeant and was a career-long member of the multiple Air Force bands and has performed in front of tens of thousands of people. So I imagine you'd be much more comfortable up here in front of the crowd than I am. The Hesseltines have been very supportive of each other in all of their Air Force careers, with Bruce initially swearing Ryan into the Air Force, and then both Bruce and Phil later re-enlisting him before Ryan finally retiring just a couple of days ago, I guess, officially you said. So thank you for your service and a career well served. We appreciate that. Overall, a very accomplished family. And again, thank you for your service. So since this may be Phil's last run, let me just talk about what Phil's accomplished over his last 30 years quickly. He began his career as an information management officer and section commander at Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, before being picked up for pilot training in 1998. I'm also a product of the 1900s, where he came out with a match for the KC-135R, and this would be his first time being stationed back home at McConnell Air Force Base, before moving slightly back up the road to Altus in 2003 to become Chief of Stand of Val at the schoolhouse. After completing IDE at Fort Dix, New Jersey, he paid his dues as executive officer to the Air Force Expeditionary Center commander, and then 2 years as a speechwriter for the office of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which I had no idea that he had done that. Had I known that, Phil would have been doing a lot more speech writing for me. I probably should have got you to read this one before I started doing it. So we expect great things from his speech here in a minute. He became a squadron commander at the 911th at Seymour Johnson and then moved up to the deputy officer commander. And during this assignment, he deployed to Morona Air Force Base as the 921st Expeditionary Operations Group deputy commander. And then in 2014, he attended the 124th Senior Course and Integrated Partner Orientation course while assigned to the NATO Defense College in Rome, with a follow-on assignment as your NATO action officer back at the Pentagon. Spain, Rome, going to Italy. It's not fair. Very nice assignments. And then he finally came back home to McConnell, where he was selected to be the vice commander of 22nd Air Refueling Wing. Active duty. All that was active duty. And then that's when we convinced him to come over and join the reserves. Come over to the bright side and join the reserves. A lot of people say the dark side, but I think it's the bright side. And he commanded the 931st Air Refueling Wing. His entire career, he's accumulated over 2,400 hours as a command pilot in all the various KC-135 aircraft models, and then now the KC-46. And his unique mission qualifications included SOAR, Special Operations Air Refueling, as well as being a member of the highly selective KC-135 RT receiver cadre, and made him extremely qualified to guide McConnell through the transition to the KC-46. Phil, thanks again for 30 years of faithful service. Would you like to say a few words? All right. I feel like I should give you a medal for that. So let's do that next.
Please stand for the presentation of the Legion of Merit to Colonel Heseltine.
On the order.
Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit to Colonel Phil Heseltine. Colonel Phil Heseltine Jr. distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 931st Air Refueling Wing, McConnell Air Force Base, Kansas, from 2 December 2018 to 3 June 2023. In this important assignment, the leadership, exemplary foresight, and ceaseless efforts consistently demonstrated by Colonel Heseltine resulted in the operational success and effectiveness of the 931st Air Refueling Wing, paving the way for the combat employment of the Air Force's newest major weapon system, the KC-46 Pegasus. Colonel Heseltine's strong visionary leadership in a pivotal time of mission accomplishment ensured continued mission readiness and led personnel fearlessly through the response of the global-wide pandemic. Additionally, Colonel Heseltine championed total force integration with the host wing to establish the Supplemental Air Crew Production Program and the Air Crew Training Detachment, initiating Air Force Reserve Command's first KC-46 training program and developing essential KC-46 initial cadre, thus paving the way for the next generation of combat-ready warfighters. His colossal effort to expand the wing resulted in the addition of 187 billets, casting the foundation of the 931st Mission Support Group. Furthermore, his leadership ensured the 931st Air Refueling Wing personnel were combat mission ready in and out of the KC-135 and postured to achieve future endeavors in the KC-46, simultaneously managing initial operational tests and evaluation and the requirements of the combatant commanders. Finally, Colonel Heseltine's vast knowledge and attention to detail directed the wing through 73,918 combined KC-135 and KC-46 flying hours delivery of 24 KC-46 aircraft and $68 million in reserve personnel budget during his command, enabling the #1 priority of the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Heseltine culminate a long and distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. the Commander, 931st Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Phil Heseltine.
Well, thank you very much. And the reason he didn't know I was a speechwriter, because normally when that comes up, I deny and counter accuse that I was ever had anything to do with it. So thank you, General Durham, for those very, very kind words. And welcome to the Total Force Center of the Universe. After 35 years of hard work, this base has and will continue to set the Total Force standard. Welcome also to the first and the best KC-46 wing in all of Air Force Reserve Command, if not the Air Force. Good morning, Kanza warriors, deuces, Jayhawks, civic leaders, families, and our friends. I'm deeply honored to be here with you. First, I'll start with my mission partners. To the 22nd Air Refueling Wing, where I spent 7 years of my life. First and always, I'm a 384 square patcher, and there's a few fellow squares here this morning, including my boom operator on my first AC deployment, Chief Mike Adams, and very few in my life can say they were ever there on 2 occasions where we almost didn't come back. So thank you, Mike, for being here. Major Jim Hickman, who's a square patcher from the Vietnam Young Tiger days, and thank you for being here as well. Jake, thank you. What a thrill to be serving with you and Tracy again. A number of us are here from the September 11, 2001 era, including Jay-Z and Stacy, and the Martins. And from my CV days, my brother, Colonel Rob McGee, thank you for being here, my friend. Thanks to my wingman and friend, Colonel Nate Vogel and Chief Hoover, but I must also express my thanks again to my other 22 ARW command teams. Major General Al Miller and Chief Sean Hughes, Brigadier General Josh Olson and Chiefs Leon Calloway and Jamie Capps, Colonel Rich Tanner and Chief Melissa Royster. We have been blessed with some amazing chiefs on this base, and you'll hear more about them later. To the Deuces, Ravens, Bandits, Red Falcons, you have so much to be proud of. It's been my honor to serve with and for you. Colonel Steve Smart, Chief Randy Hill, and now Chief Chase Lippard, and so many from the 184th. You are absolutely the embodiment of why our National Guard is so special. So this morning I want to put a spotlight on our traditional reservists and take a moment to talk directly to you, our TRs and drill status guard members that are here this morning. I am absolutely in awe of you. You magnificently balance your 4 pillars, your jobs, your families, us, and your own personal well-being. Then, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, you rejoin on us, the less than 1/2 of 1%ers. When you leave your families, your schools, and your jobs to voluntarily don the cloth of our nation, to keep your reserve, your federal, and your state mission skills sharp, and to always be ready to run to the sound of guns or sirens or cries for help anywhere in the world. Between the 184th and the 931st Wings and our Navy and Army partners out on Washington Street, and thank you very much for being here as well, you honor us for being here. There are traditional reserve and guardsmen representing nearly 50 states, 22 in the 184th and 30 in the 931st who travel regularly to Wichita. Why do you overfly so many guard and bases and reserve locations where you could serve to come to what many regard as a flyover state for drill? I believe it has everything to do with the community in which we serve. Kansans love their men and women in uniform like no other place I've seen in 30 years of service. Would all elected officials, civic and business leaders, Golden Eagles, honorary commanders, and even you, Miss Janie, my barber, would you please stand up and be recognized? Stay standing, please. It's you and your families are the reason why we come, and some, like my family and me, choose to stay in the state of Kansas. Thank you for supporting these service members, your service members, and especially their families who wear the cloth of our great nation. Thank you so much. So today we are gathered to witness a transition, and it's especially fitting that we also take a moment to offer witness and to recognize all of you, airmen, civilians, and your families for a commitment to service to our nation during a time of historic change, which requires and will continue to require great leadership. If I am ever somehow confused for having been a success as a wing commander, it has everything to do with the examples set forth by me by leaders like Major General Randy Ogden and my good friend Caroline Evernham. Great Kanza leaders like Colonel Mark Larson, Chief Kathy Lohman, and Darren Damel. And Darren, you're out here somewhere, so thank you for being here. I've had the privilege of working alongside two fantastic wingmen, Vito and Jen Fitch, and being paired with two of the finest chiefs in all of Air Force Reserve, Takesha Williams and Elaine Major. My three OGs, Rain Man, Matt Gormley, Eric Rivero, you three are the best in the business. Absolutely the right leaders at the right time, but you couldn't have done as well without your great wingmen, Chief Wallman, Guljor, and Norris. Thank you all for making this look so easy, which it wasn't. You make me proud to be always FRG. My rock, my mentor, and my friend Robbie Thompson, the E.F. Hutton of the 931st. If you know, you know. The KC-46 program is where it is today primarily for what you have given of yourself, Robbie, and I think you deserve a round of applause. I can't wait to see where the next adventure will take you and Miss Annie. Robbie, you have also been blessed with the best. Chief Seth Thomas, Corey Still, and I'm proud to say our newest chief, Jody Jones. Jody, where are you? Raise your hand. There you are. Newest Chief Master Sergeant, right there. And in maintenance, they just don't come any better. Finally, Matt Basler, Slab, or as we know him as Baz, our hog out of water. If you know, you know. Thank you for all that you, Vanessa Schoen, and Craig Van Prague have been able to do with the help of Chief James Bowling, Chief Persy, Senior Linda Spangler, and my man, Howie Burns. Howie, where are you, brother? There you are. Nice. Right here, buddy. On January 2019, in this hangar, we hosted the arrival of the Air Force's first two KC-46s. Since that cold, snowy day, thousands in the 931st and 22nd, alongside members of the 184th, many here today, helped write the playbook for the nation's newest weapon system, which has become the refueling tanker of choice in every theater across the globe. Kanza booms, pilots, intel, and operational support personnel, together with tireless commitment from our 22nd and 931st maintenance professionals, over the last 5 years, you flew and you heard the numbers, the thousands of KC-135 and KC-46 flight hours. That equates to 4,500 missions and over 9,000 receivers, demonstrating the capability of the KC-46 during 3 employment concepts and 6 large force exercises. Each of you in here owns a piece of this. And while we have been serving alongside our 22nd mission partners at every step, from program mitigation to aircrew training and beyond, and together we will continue to be alongside each other as we take the KC-46 into the nuclear and special operations arenas. Kanza warriors, most of you were here well before the new jets arrived, and many will be here 5, 10, and 15 years from now. And that is what makes you the strategic reserve of this weapon system and our Air Force. But not all Kanza home runs were made by operators and maintainers. Just after standing up our new mission support group, our security forces, civil engineers, chaplains, and force support members set out for what should have been a standard milk run deployment. And almost immediately they found themselves in the throes of the largest humanitarian withdrawal since the Berlin airlift. Your efforts created temporary homes which offered safety and provided security and delivered hope to over 120,000 Afghanistan families, and I think that deserves a round of applause. And we cannot forget that while all this was going on, John Jordan, one of our deployed maintenance squadron commanders, led the successful evacuation of Taji Air Base in Iraq just moments before being struck by a barrage of Iranian missiles, and all of his people made it out alive. Our FSS oversaw more than 800 promotions and led the way recruiting efforts that brought in over 400 people. If anyone ever asks if we can recruit in Wichita, Kansas, the answer is a resounding yes. And with any luck, Colonel Welch will lead the hiring of our 151 newest TR maintenance professionals that the Air Force needs for us to take this wing around the world at any moment. But these are just a few of the historic events, visionary innovations, and ongoing initiatives happening between the Deuces, the Kanzas, and the Jayhawks every day. So where will the future take us? Who will carry our Air Force into the 10, 20, and 30 years from now? It will not be me, it will not be Nate Vogel, not Colonel Smart, not Brigadier General Benerdi, not General Fessler. Our active duty and full-time arts technicians, AGRs, and drill status guard and reserve members, it will be you and people like you. But more importantly, it's the people serving alongside each of you, our families who give us all the strength to answer any call, anytime, anywhere. Now, dangerously, this brings me to my family. Jen. For 28 years, she hates this by the way, for 28 years, you have traveled with me along this long and winding road. Just like Dr. Seuss said in Oh, the Places We Will Go, with 3 assignments in Oklahoma, Tinker to Altus and Enid by the Sea. We saw Vandenberg, Shady J, and yes, twice to DC. Our Air Force journey ends where this family began, and I can't thank you enough for just being my friend. I love you always. To Livy, the best thing to ever come out of Altus, Oklahoma, by far. Mom, Alexa, and I are super proud of your recent Derby High School graduation, and we will be there for you always as you head off to Kansas State this fall, take on the world. I'm so proud of the awesome person that you've become. Alexa, I'm very glad that you could be here today with school and all you have to do to get ready for Italy this month. You're amazing. And you have already exceeded anything I ever did in college, or anything I could have imagined for you. Mom, Liv, and I can't wait to see what you decide to cure. As you travel on your own long and winding road, I am proud of you for all you have and will continue to do, my love. Dad, or as we like to call him, Babs, so thankful for you and Mom, always giving you the support you gave to Ryan and me over the years. Neither of us would be here if it wasn't for you. And now to my mom. We saved a seat for you. I know you are here with us in spirit, and not a day goes by that I don't think of you and your commitment to Dad, Ryan, and to me. I love you, Mom. My brother Ryan, I'm very proud of all your accomplishments with multiple Air Force bands, but more so the amazing father you've become, and I can't wait to see where the Hesseltine's party of 5 will go. Finally, to my greater McConnell, Wichita, and Derby families, it's been my distinct honor and privilege to be with you the past 8 years. Cynthia, hold on tight. You and Phil are in for a fantastic ride, and I wish you all the very best. But as Forrest Gump once said, I'm pretty tired, and I think I'll go home now. May God bless the airmen and families of McConnell Air Force Base. May God bless the United States Air Force, and may God always continue to bless the great state of Kansas and the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Hesseltine, for your words, for your dedicated service as Wing Commander of the 931st Air Refueling Wing. We look forward to your continued leadership and service in the local community. General Durham, please come forward to make additional remarks.
Be seated. You guys thought you were done hearing from me. It takes a lot to put on these events, and so I want to make sure that you get your money's worth. And so, used to, when I sat down with one-on-one with the wing commanders and kind of told them what their job was, it was eye-opening for that wing commander. And the more I thought about it, I said, I probably should share this with the people that these wing commanders are going to lead, so that they understand the responsibility that their wing commanders and that their commanders take on when they take these jobs. And so I've decided to share it during these change of command ceremonies, so that we all understand what the expectation is for the future. Colonel Welch, you've agreed to take on the esteemed but challenging position of wing commander. Being a wing commander is difficult, and our families enable this service. Having the support of one's family, I think, makes all the difference. And today in attendance is Cynthia's husband, Phil. And Phil knows the burden of service well, having spent 23 years in the Coast Guard before retiring as a Chief Petty Officer. Phil was stationed on numerous medium and high endurance cutters such as the Cutter Active and Cutter Morgenthau, retiring in 2010 from the Coast Guard Commander's staff in Washington, D.C. And although ship life can certainly be mundane, I think meeting Cynthia while hosting a dinner for the Presidio Yacht Club while being assigned to the Coast Guard Station Golden Gate sounds like a pretty good trade-off. Not a bad way. Not a bad way to find a spouse, I think. And while Cynthia's parents, Tom and Linda Teal, weren't able to be with us today, it's worth mentioning their ongoing support for Cynthia and Phil. Cynthia's parents themselves were understand service, with Cynthia's father having retired in 1999 from our very own 4th Air Force as the Air Operations Plans and Programs Director. Cynthia graduated from undergraduate pilot training in July of 1999 with a follow-on to Travis Air Force Base to fly the C-5 with a 312th Airlift Squadron. Then she swapped coast in 2002 and landed at the 709th Airlift Squadron, eventually holding the position of Assistant Chief Pilot. This is where our paths cross, and Cynthia worked for me back in Dover days, as the Chief of Training. And then I convinced her to head out to 4th Air Force, follow her dad's footsteps, and work at the headquarters in 4th. In 2015, she headed back to Travis, and now is an ART in the operations office for the 301st Aerial Squadron before taking command of the 446th Operations Group at Joint Base Lewis McChord in October of 2020. Cynthia, since we've worked together back at Dover, and then again, you were at the change command at McChord, you've probably heard these words before, but I'll emphasize this message to you again. And like I said, not so much for you, but for all the new airmen and commanders that are out there, and supervisors that are in attendance today. To hear and understand the weight of responsibility that lies with all commanders, and especially a wing commander. Now let me take a minute to talk about the task of the commander. And as you've heard me say many times, focus on the fundamentals. One of our fundamental doctrines is captured in the AFI 1-1 and 1-2. My charge to you is to follow the principles of this AFIs. These words, paraphrased for time, come straight from our fundamental doctrines. And under Chapter 4, under Commander's Intent, it says, with a clear understanding of the intent of an assigned mission, commanders have the responsibility and the authority to act and to trust subordinates to complete their assigned missions. To that end, all commanders will, at all times, display exemplary conduct, establish a healthy command climate, and have a propensity for action. Deliberately execute all assigned duties and responsibilities to include all aspects of executing the mission, leading people, managing resources, and improving the unit. Sound familiar? Apply the tenets of effective command and control as defined in Joint Pub Doctrine 1, the Armed Forces of the United States, and Air Force Doctrine Volume 1, Basic Air Force Doctrine, which should increase the ability of commanders to make sound and timely decisions and enhance unity of effort. Again, my advice to you is to focus on the fundamentals. Our airmen deserve nothing less. We must respect their time by providing them value-added, applicable training opportunities. We must respect their sacrifice by paying them fairly and rapidly and reimbursing them in a timely manner. And we must honor their service by giving them timely and constructive feedback in order for them to grow and become better people and better airmen. We are all works in progress, and we evolve to be better versions of ourselves, and by challenging ourselves and those around us, we all become better. It applies to all aspects of the whole person, be it physically, mentally, or spiritually. If you hold yourself true to that ideal, then so will your airmen. If you are current and present for them, they will be current and present for you. We are a ready force, ready now and transforming for the future. Additionally, we have a task order from Commander General Healy. Read it and execute. Simple as that. It lays out 5 tasks for you and your wing that I will briefly cover. Task 1, build and implement a detailed annual training plan for all subordinate units that includes all required exercise participation, UTA schedule with attention to training objectives, and deliberately plan to utilize all annual tour for assigned members. Task 2, build and implement a detailed annual flying plan, which identifies both on and off-station flying activities, articulates average sortie duration, turn patterns, and required configurations, and identifies monthly O&M days. It also should track and measure execution against the annual plan. Task 3, build and execute the annual manning plan. Identify and monitor overages by unit. Level unit mandate across the UMD. And advertise 100% of the vacancies that you have in the wing. And then audit your UMD against the assigned roster monthly. Task 4, build a wing fin plan. By month, plan to execute RPA, which is Reserve Appropriation Dollars, annual tour, and your inactive duty training in order to meet readiness goals and account for potential continuing resolutions, which they're predicting will be in for the next year. Organize requirements into basic categories: unit health, long-term orders, exercises, and then other unit discretionary funds. Identify funds to support travel, O&M, and clearly identify by name and unit all these different pots of money. In Task 5, build and implement and maintain appropriate control measures to establish oversight of all of your wing upgrade and certification training. That's a lot. That's what the task order and what our commander expects us to do. So when these wing commanders come back and say all these things and track all these things, that's why we're doing what we do. It's what we've been tasked to do. My advice to you airmen, work it. This is the best side hustle you will ever have. Love what you do. You are part of an amazing organization of volunteers. We're all volunteer airmen. And that's something that's often missed by both our active hosts and counterparts and the population at large. We choose a volunteer to come out here every time we darken the door. And you can always choose not to. So it really is a leadership challenge. It's like leading a whole bunch of your peers and getting them to volunteer to do it day in and day out. Volunteerism that makes a real difference in the balance of power around the world. You are part of that. Embrace it. More importantly, make a difference in what you can affect at this level. Don't be distracted by the noise and the turmoil occurring around you. Do the best job you can do at your assigned duty, and in short, do the work for both yourself and for your job specialty. Volunteer as much as you want, and as much as I can afford to pay you. Volunteerism produces mission, and that produces the reps and sets that General Minahan talks about. Mission produces readiness, and readiness produces operational decision space for commanders and strategic depth now. Cynthia, I'll leave you with a few words of wisdom. Build a trusted team of leaders and let them lead. Work for cause, not for applause. Live life to express and not to impress. And don't strive to make your presence noticed, just make your absence felt. Are you ready to take on command? All right, let's have a change of command.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the change of command ceremony in which the reins of responsibility will be passed from Colonel Heseltine to Colonel Welch. Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force Reserve Headquarters, 931st Air Refueling Wing, Special Order Number Delta Bravo 1502, effective 18 June 2023, Colonel Heseltine relinquishes command of the 931st Air Refueling Wing and Colonel Welch assumes command. Signed, Brigadier General Scott Durham. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. I present the Commander, 931st Air Refueling Wing, Colonel Cynthia Welch.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here today. General Durham, thank you for this fantastic opportunity to lead the 931st Air Refueling Wing. I know, I promise I'm going to get it better. It's too much. I'm too loud for that. We have certainly come a long way since Dover, and I appreciate your confidence and your continuing support. And I did know what I needed to do before I got here, because I did read the task force. So, Colonel Heseltine, Phil, thank you for your leadership and your offers for help during the transition. And I will take you up on that. I have your cell phone number, and you will get phone calls. To the 931st and 22nd Maintenance Group, Lieutenant Colonel Jones, Mrs. Goldjord, Chief Still, Master Sergeant Mick Partland, Tech Sergeant Rucker, and everyone who put this ceremony together. This venue is amazing. Thank you so much for setting everything up. Captain Schmidt, thank you for your inspirational words today. Senior Airman Close Hazard, I know you already got a standing ovation. You deserve doubly so. That was a lovely rendition of our national anthem. McConnell Honor Guard, that was a wonderful presentation. State, community, and business leaders, thank you so much for attending today's ceremony. The 931st Air Refueling Wing can only perform its mission because of your support for our citizen airmen and their families. I look forward to getting to know all of you better. General Bernardi and General Fessler, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend. Colonel Volker, Colonel Smart, Chief Hoover, Chief Lippard, thank you for spending your Saturday with us, and I look forward to working with you. And to all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, Golden Eagles, honorary commanders, and friends of McConnell, thank you for sharing your time with us today. I would not be here without a lot of help from a bunch of people, so I'm going to take a minute to recognize folks. I've spent half of my career at Travis, like you mentioned, quick turn to March. Half my year at Dover Air Force Base, where I met General Durham. Quick turn March was back up to Travis and then up to McCord. Those folks, they are my family, and family shapes who you become. That's the sound of freedom right there, folks. Happy to have the background noise. And I hope that my folks from prior bases are watching today, because thank you for the great times and telling me when I need a new perspective. I also have to say a big thank you to both my parents. Dad was an Air Reserve technician, and when Afric reopened the pilot pipeline, he called me up and told me to get my rear end gear if I wanted to be a reservist. He helped me with performance reports, and he talked Air Force. Working in both the home and our family business, my mom showed me how to make things happen. She suffered through years of Air Force talk, just like my husband has. They both have provided helpful, although dated, suggestions about our move to McConnell, since Dad was the 18th Airlift Squadron DO back in the day. Thank you both for your guidance throughout the years. And to my husband, Phil, he is amazing, and I would not be able to complete half of what I do without him. He's retired from the Coast Guard, as mentioned, about 12 years ago. He's been unwavering in support and help and telling me when I'm pushing too hard or when I need to be the hammer. I love you, sweetie. For the airmen of the 931st Air Refueling Wing, my husband and I were excited when we heard about my transfer to McConnell. While I did not visit often when Dad was stationed here, I heard for years about the great people of Wichita. I'm excited about working with the men and women of this great wing, especially now as we refocus our attention to the Pacific. Because, to quote General Minahan, our airmen are the magic that makes things happen. I'm going to paraphrase and slightly change General Durham's. Focus on the basics, and the rest will fall in line. And to me, the basics are laid out in General Healy's task board. Be ready now with your AFSC proficiency, medical readiness, physical fitness, and bar currency. Transform for the future by finding a better, stronger, faster way of accomplishing the mission. I need your help. identifying barriers to getting things done and initiating improvements to make things better. This is not a knock at all on what you've been doing, and do not think that I'm going to come in and make changes tomorrow or make changes just to make changes, but sometimes an outside perspective helps find a different answer. While I have not yet met many people, I've been thoroughly impressed with everyone I have encountered. From what I've seen, this wing, this base, and the surrounding cities have a culture of community, a culture of commitment, and a culture of delivering a better tomorrow. I'm honored to accept command of such a fantastic wing and look forward to seeing everything we can do together. Thank you.
Today, Colonel Cynthia Welch assumed command of the dynamic and expanding 931st Air Refueling Wing. We look forward to continued mission success at home and abroad under her leadership. Colonel Welch, the Kansas Warriors are behind you as we step toward the future. We also know that our ability to find success is guided by those around us. At this time, Colonel Heseltine would like to present his loved ones with flowers as a token of appreciation for their unwavering support. Please stand for the playing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. This concludes today's ceremony. We invite you to join us for a reception and congratulate Colonel Welch and her family on her new position. Thank you.